At the dawn of man's time on Earth, he often heard the cries of wild dogs as he sat by his campfires at night. When men hunted wild animals and the prey escaped, packs of dogs would chase the wounded beast and bring it down. They ran together, with a single dog as their leader. Men came to appreciate and even love these howling creatures. Dogs were tamed and kept close to the campfire for hunting and companionship. They shared the lives of men at history's earliest point, and there begins our story. The year was 1899, and a freight train sped along the California coast from Santa Clara to San Francisco. A strong and noble beast was kept prisoner in one of the cars. He was a 4-year-old dog in the prime of his life, and his name was Buck. Buck had only the vaguest memories of how he had come to be a prisoner, and as the train took him further and further from the only home he had ever known, his thoughts carried him back to the house of Judge Miller in Santa Clara. Buck had been happy there. He never knew hunger or thirst, but he had also never tested his will to survive. He had never called upon the wildness in his blood in a life and death struggle with an opponent. He had never dreamt that a greater destiny might be his than the life of a pampered king in a household of other pets, their animal nature softened by a life of shelter and ease. And now, Buck found himself stolen away from that happy life, a life he would never know again, and on his way to destinations unknown. Buck had been master of all he could see. The warm California sun was his friend, and the Miller family treated him like a special child. He wasn't just a hunting dog or a watchdog, but also a member of the family. Buck played with the Miller children and even watched over the babies. He reigned over all the animals that lived on the property, in the air and on the ground. He had a full and completely happy life. Buck was a true king, a proud and loving companion to Judge Miller, and a fearless leader in his little world. After 4 years of this happy life, something happened that would change everything. For Buck, this was nothing more than a walk with the gardener, Manuel. Buck still trusted all the human beings he knew, and this was a great mistake. For only very special human beings deserve the trust of a noble heart.
Here you go. This is the one I promised you. He's real strong. A mixture of German Shepherd and St. Bernard.
He sure looks strong. I'll have to break him of the easy life you've given him. But all right, I'll give you 150.
Good. Now I can make that poker game tonight.
You'd better tie him up good. I don't want any trouble with this one.
Sure thing. He likes me. Don't you, Buck? Now that should do it. He won't be any trouble. It's on real tight.
All right, let's go.
I've never seen him like this.
Come on, I said.
The rope pulled tighter and tighter around Buck's neck, and the next thing he knew, he was feeling his home slip by underneath him as the train sped northward. Buck looked out and realized that things would never be the same again. His helplessness made him angry, and he struck out at the man who had stolen him away.
Huh? Don't you ever give up. Hey! go of me! What are you doing? Let go! Have you gone crazy? If it wasn't for that 150, I'd throw you out on the tracks right now, you dumb beast! You better learn who's in charge here right now.
If Buck had been able to read the newspapers, he might have guessed where he was headed. A gold rush was on in the Alaskan Klondike country. Thousands of men, dreaming of a fortune for the taking, headed north to the land of snow and the Aurora Borealis. These men needed dogs to pull their sleds, which were loaded down with heavy supplies and goods for trade. Dogs were stolen from all over the North American continent and sold into service in this harsh northern land. Buck lay angry and bruised on the floor of the freight car, preparing himself for any future opportunities to escape. Buck was taken from train to ship, and money changed hands over and over again.
I'll give you 300 for him.
His value in dollars grew as he moved closer to the rough northern country that would be his home. A good, strong dog was a man's most important possession in the wild north, and Buck was clearly 1 in 1,000. Buck was caged and underfed. His masterful nature and desire to define his own destiny found vent in defiant rages against the men who kept him penned. He traveled in the dark parts of an ocean-going ship to the seaport city of Seattle. The men did not dare to open the barred cage in which Buck was kept prisoner. Already, his wild instincts were showing themselves. But Buck was also most prized for his strong character. Strong dogs survived longer in the frozen wastelands and performed better service. So without knowing it, Buck was only sealing his fate more tightly by struggling against his captors. He arrived at a farm where many other dogs were also being trained for service in Alaska. A man in a red sweater came to meet Buck's arrival, and this man was to teach Buck one of the most important lessons of his life.
This is Buck. He looks like a tough one. They all are at first.
He's a mean one, boss. He gave me nothing but trouble on the way up here.
Well, we'll see what we can do about that.
Be careful!
Don't worry. I'll teach him a thing or two. All right, Buck. Come on and get me. Come on! Come on, Buck. They said you were a mean one. Get up, Buck. I've got something for you.
God, he's something. I wouldn't be caught dead fighting a wild animal like that.
I know you hate me, Buck. Come on and try it again, boy. I'll teach you. Hey, you've got a lot of guts. All right, I'm ready to go at it whenever you are, Buck.
Buck was a brave dog, but he knew he couldn't win against an armed man. This was his first important lesson in the laws of the North. He had learned the law of the club. A man by himself was an easy opponent for Buck, but with a club or a rope, it was not worth the pain for Buck to try fighting against him.
Remember this lesson and we can be friends. Calm down and I'll give you some water to drink. Come on, boy. I won't hurt you anymore.
The man with the club will always win. Buck never forgot this simple lesson. although his wild nature continued to yearn for freedom. Sometimes at night, Buck would wake up and gaze at the moon. He felt something stirring inside him, although he didn't know what. His blood was pumping hard, and he knew something important would happen to him soon. Whatever it was, he would be ready. Men came to the farm every day. Money changed hands. Dogs came and went. When Buck realized that dogs were being sold and taken away, he was relieved to know that he would be leaving soon, but uneasy at the mystery of his future.
That's quite a dog you've got there.
Yep. You've got good eyes, Perot.
You must be asking a lot of money for him, Bob, or you wouldn't flatter me.
How about $600? You know with a good dog like this, you'll get those government documents out fast. You know it's a cheap price.
Okay. 600 for him and for that husky over there.
All right, Perot, you got yourself a deal.
For Buck, this meant another long journey to the far and frozen north. Perot took him aboard the steamer Narwhal, headed for the Alaskan frontier.
Come on, Buck. It's time to meet your friends. Francois, I found a couple of good ones. What do you think?
Now this one is a find.
His name's Buck. He's special.
What do you think of this one? His name is Spitz, and that's Dave. They've both been out on the trail before.
Buck did not like Spitz from the start. Perhaps it was a natural conflict for supremacy that arose between them. But Buck kept a very close eye on the other dog. Spitz was treacherous and stole when he could get away with it.
What? Spitz, don't do that again!
Buck came to respect Francois for his fairness. Both he and Perot dealt out a harsh but even justice to the dogs. He kept his eye on Spitz, however. He knew that the white dog was a dangerous opponent, and this stirred Buck's natural desire to dominate his rivals. The blood of his ancestors began to teach Buck how to face the rough, new northern world that he was entering. A world where the laws of the club and the fang were the only laws worth obeying. He realized that all his instincts would be tested to their limits here, if he was even to survive. Alaska was a harsher country than he could ever have imagined. Here, only the strongest survived of both men and animals. Buck's first snow was a surprise to him. What was this strange white water that burned his tongue? He had not had so much room to run since he had left Judge Miller's ranch in California. That night, one of the new dogs, Callie, tried to make friends with Spitz. This was a mistake for Callie, who did not yet know the law of the fang. Seeing the way Spitz had treated Callie filled Buck's heart with anger. But he waited patiently for an opportunity to challenge the big white dog. The next day, Buck started his training in the sled traces of Francois and Perot. He ran over 30 miles that day. They made good time that day as the dogs worked together as a team, straining their hard muscles against the load piled onto the sled. The lead dogs taught the younger ones the rules of life in the traces. And the first day out was a hard one for Buck.
Get going! Yeah!
For a dog that was used to being treated like a king at the Miller house, this new life was difficult for Buck, but he learned his job well.
Whoa! How's Buck doing?
Fine. He learns real quick. Picked up everything I taught him in just one day. Who are those two?
Oh, Billy and Joe. We're going to need 3 dogs for an urgent delivery due in tomorrow. We have to cover 40 miles.
All right. I'll be counting on you two tomorrow. Oh, shut up. Won't you ever be quiet? Now, boys, come on and I'll introduce you. Come on.
Buck watched Spitz from a distance and tried to calculate his approach to the problem. This single dog ruled the pack like a tyrant, and Buck was the only one who could take him down. The nights were bone-chilling, and Buck had no idea where he could find a warm place to sleep. He saw Sorex digging a hole in the ground and made the mistake of approaching the one-eyed dog on his blind side. Again, the law of the fang came into play, and Buck escaped, only to wander in the freezing cold and snow. A warm light came out of the men's tent. He thought back to his comfortable nights asleep by Judge Miller's fire.
Hey, you sleep outside. Go on, out.
Buck couldn't see any of the other dogs. Where had they gone to sleep? He was cold, sad, and tired. Billy taught Buck how the dogs sleep in the North Country, by digging a hole in the snow and warming each other with their bodies. The next morning came early, and Buck and the other dogs rose with the dawn to another hard day in the traces.
Mush!
Look at that Buck. Do I know how to pick him, Francois?
Yeah, Buck is 1 dog in 1,000. Good work.
Buck adapted to the fierce environment of the North very quickly. If he had allowed his mind to dwell on the comforts he'd known at Judge Miller's place, he would have died all too soon. And survival of the fittest is the law in Alaska. He worked hard every day and grew stronger, tougher, and wiser in the laws of the fang and whip. There was not a single ounce of fat on his powerful body. And when he was hitched to the sled, he pulled with all his might. Day by day, he grew stronger and leaner. He used every bit of energy from his food, and his senses were tuned to their extreme. He indeed was becoming 1 dog in 1,000. When they camped one evening, Buck found himself a sheltered place to dig his own bed, behind some rocks, out of the wind. He didn't know he was being watched.
Here you go, Buck.
Buck had been feeling a growing sense of his own power and will to mastery over the team of dogs. When he returned to his warm bed, he discovered that the white dog Spitz had stolen it and was not going to move. Was this to be their final confrontation? To the death? Perrault and Francois did not want to see a final confrontation between the two great dogs of the team. One of them would have to die.
Break it up! I knew this was bound to happen. Only one of those dogs can head the team. But if one of those two has to win, then I want it to be Buck! Buck'll teach him a thing or two.
Get off, Spitz! Get off!
Let go, Buck!
Stop it, Spitz!
Buck!
As Buck lay in his bed that night, he thought about Spitz and knew that their ultimate battle would have to be soon.
Look out! What?
Whoa! Buck! What's wrong? Show me which one. This is serious. You have a very bad case of frostbite.
The men nursed Buck's foot, but it was still very sensitive to the cold snow, so Francois made a boot to protect and warm his foot. Buck worked as well as ever with the help of the boot, and the team continued to make good time across the frozen frontier of the North.
Whoa! Let's take a break, Perrault. Come on.
Yeah.
Well, let's go.
Right.
Let's move out. One more day and we should make it to Dawson. Wait a minute. Dave is missing.
Dave. I'm tired of that lazy one-hiding to get out of his work. Dave! Dave!
Come on, Dave!
Dave! Dave!
Dave, come on, boy.
Dave!
Come on.
Buck wants to be lead dog.
Buck! Spitz! Stop it now! Now you all get back in line where you belong.
The wild call in Buck's blood moved him to take a stand against Spitz for the position of leader in the team. Spitz saw the change in Buck and became more cautious of his rival. Buck enjoyed his stay in the small town of Dawson. Every night, the dogs would gather together and sing to their heart's content at the big moon in the sky above them. The team rested for a week, and from rest comes strength. The strength to travel, and the strength to fight.
Mush!
Come on!
Traveling over the icy land, the team still made good progress. But the dogs acted confused, fighting among themselves and wasting time. Buck continued to challenge Spitz. And usually won.
What's the matter with them?
Spitz won't fight with Buck, and I don't think the other dogs respect him anymore.
Buck's the one that's really in charge.
Buck and Spitz were bound to have their confrontation soon, and there was nothing the men or the other dogs could do to stop it. Buck did not behave any differently. He waited for the right moment with the patience he had learned from the harsh North Country. Buck grew stronger day by day and looked forward to being the lead dog of the team.
That rabbit doesn't have a chance.
The whole team soon joined in the chase for food and for adventure. Buck put all of his energy into the chase. He skillfully cut the rabbit off and chased it through alleys and fissures in the walls of ice and rock. He displayed astonishing intelligence in his pursuit, pacing himself to the smaller creature until it almost dropped from sheer exhaustion. And then... the moment of final confrontation had come for Buck and Spitz. They squared off, circled each other, and began their battle to the death. The law of the Fang declared that only one could survive this battle, and they both knew it. Buck had claimed his supremacy in the team. And from that victorious moment forward, he always ran at the front of the sled and always had a mastery over the other dogs around him. Unlike some other dogs, Buck was never owned by any man. Wild blood surged through his every motion, making even sled pulling an act of absolute freedom. Sorex and Dave accepted Buck as their leader immediately, as did the other dogs. With Buck running at the front of the team, they made record time, arriving back in Dawson sooner than anticipated. The team worked hard on this run, and they deserved a long rest before beginning their next assignment. But this was not to be. Francois and Perrault had finished their work, but their fine team of dogs was still worth a great deal of money.
Well, good luck.
Gold changed hands again, and Buck was sold along with the rest of the team to a Scotch half-breed. Before they knew it, the dogs were on the trail again. Francois and Perrault were only a memory.
Hey, come on, let's get a move on!
Buck and his team had become famous in the North Country for their speed and endurance. With this new assignment, they were called upon to use all of their skill. This was the deepest, coldest part of the Alaskan winter, when the days only lasted a few hours and the wind sliced through Buck's fur coat at temperatures of 60 degrees below zero. This work was harder than Buck could ever have imagined. They ran over 40 miles a day, and before long, Buck had lost 25 pounds. Sorex lost his temper even more frequently than usual, and Dave seemed to be feeling sick, although the Scotch half-breed couldn't make out what was wrong with him. Dave started falling down in the traces and became too weak to work.
Dave! Whoa!
What's the matter, Dave? Where does it hurt, huh?
The man unhitched Dave from the group and let him run alongside the sled, although this hurt Dave's pride. Dave struggled to keep up with the team, but he had no strength.
Dave! Whoa! Dave! Dave! Dave, you've done a good job. Oh. Come on, let's go, boy.
Buck and the others understood what had happened to Dave, and they howled for their teammate, who had been lost to the harsh weather and the driving power of the whip. Buck had entirely forgotten his days at the Miller house. They seemed like a dream, like they belonged to another dog in another life. He was almost a wild dog now, knowledgeable in the laws of the frozen north and the open land. He felt an urge within himself, something driving him that was not a whip, not a club, and not the promise of food from a human hand. He felt the call of his own wild nature, pushing him towards the life of the pack, the life of a free animal. When they arrived back in Dawson, even Buck was exhausted. But the man was intent on pushing his team even further.
Okay, that's the last.
All right, let's go.
The dogs were too exhausted to move.
All right, Buck, come on. Let's go now. Pull that sled, come on. Mush, mush, pull it out. You're not pulling, Buck. Come on and move it. Move it out. I'll whip your hide, Buck. This is important. Oh, mush, mush, mush. Oh.
Listen, this job is urgent. If you can't do it, I'll have to find somebody else that can.
Oh.
Mush! Mush! Come on, boys!
But it would have been better for the dogs if they had gone with the Scotch half-breed.
Whoa! Hey! Charles, this looks like a good team. These dogs should pull really well for us on the trail.
I got them cheap from the man at the postal office.
But Charles, what are we going to do about my sister here? She's not suited for this kind of travel, and you know it.
Mercedes, what's the problem now?
Charles, oh, he wants me to leave the tent behind and we'll need it.
Oh, Mercedes, the cold weather is all finished now. It's April.
I want to go back to Boston. We'd better come into some money fast up here, that's all I can say.
Mercedes.
Charles, what can we do about her?
Nothing at all. Now, let's get ready.
Ah, come on! Mush! Mush! Come on, Buck! Move it! Mush! 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 Ah, Buck! Come on, boy! Move it! Come on, mush! Mush! Pull, boys!
Hal, stop it!
Come on.
The poor dogs!
Poor dogs, nothing. Mercedes, what do you know? Sometimes you have to beat them to get them to do what you want.
Hal, shut up! Don't you dare talk to me like that!
Mercedes, let's get rid of a few of these things.
We don't need a tent or all these clothes.
Oh, think about me. You don't know what sorts of terrible things might happen.
So what do you recommend?
Don't do this to me.
All right, Mercedes. What about the dogs, Hal? We'll need more.
Charles, you weakling!
Charles, Mercedes, and Howl were indeed weaklings. All of them. They couldn't leave behind any of their big city belongings and worked the poor dogs twice as hard as they needed to, just in order to tote their useless baggage. And Mercedes rode like a queen on the sled, adding her weight to the load. When they asked her to walk, she would cry until Charles relented and let her ride again. They were proud of their large dog team, but hadn't planned the feeding schedule very well. Keeping all those animals healthy enough to pull that big sled was not cheap, and the dogs' rations got smaller every day.
Mercedes, get off now, dear, and we'll both walk.
How can you? I don't feel well and my feet are so cold.
Oh, stop your griping and get off. Your weight is gonna kill the poor dogs.
What do you mean by that? Hal, those are my clothes.
We simply have to get rid of some of this weight.
Charles, stop it. Make him stop it.
Hal!
Many dogs died from lack of food and fatigue, and yet day by day they continued their trudge towards Dawson, with a full load in tow and no food for the animals.
Get up and pull! Get up, Buck! Quit being so lazy!
Hal, I'm worried. He looks like he's dying.
Hold on a second. Just how far are you people planning to go?
To Dawson.
Impossible.
What?
The ice is melting. It'll break. If you gave me all the money in Alaska, I wouldn't make such a dangerous journey. Your dogs are practically dead.
I don't want to listen to a sermon. Now, we're going to Dawson. Mush! Lazy Buck! Mush! Come on, Mush! Get up and pull! I'm sick of your laziness. Get up and pull! Come on!
What?
I'll show you. You'll be sorry you didn't listen to me. Come on!
Hold it!
What are you doing?
That dog will die if you push him any harder.
Well, he's my dog and it's none of your business.
Hal, stop it!
I'll be reasonable.
Get away from me. Now. Ouch, why you?
Here you go.
What are you doing?
Mercedes.
So the three of them foolishly set out with their heavy load over the thin ice. Springtime came to the frozen north, and a big, violent spring it was. Buck made two good friends in Thornton's other dogs, Ski and Nig. Buck developed a different kind of love for Thornton than he had ever known before. A very strong and passionate love.
Come here, Buck.
unlike anything he had known at the Miller house.
Hey! Oh! Buck! Come on. Are you gonna bite my hand off, boy? Have you forgotten that I saved your life? You're an ungrateful son of a gun, but I love you, Buck.
Thornton, are you there? Hey, Buck's looking much better. Come on over to my place later and I'll feed you both. It'll be the only good meal you'll have this week.
Hey, come on, what are you doing? Deal with her.
Give me a card. Give me a card.
Well,
I'm not gonna help your...
what do you think, Buck?
Bring your dog. You haven't helped like ours.
Yeah?
Come on, Jim. That's the problem down here. Come on, here. Come on,
Buck wasn't used to being indoors with such wild humans, but he stayed right at Thornton's side through everything. He went everywhere with his master, listening carefully to everything that Thornton said. They hunted together, and Buck finally got a chance to return to Thornton the enormous favor he'd done in saving Buck's life.
Best team of dogs in the Klondike. No one can pull harder. Why, my lead dog, Rusty, can pull 300 pounds from a stand.
That's nothing. Simon can pull 500 easy.
I don't believe it.
No.
Yeah, well, I've got a dog named Buck, and he can pull 1,000 pounds.
Are you crazy?
Oh, I bet he can do it.
Well now, Thornton, I'll take you up on that little bet. $1,000 says you can't do it. You're bound to lose this one, and I'll be happy to collect the money. And by the way, I just happen to have 1,000 pounds of flour piled up out there on my sled right now. So you see, there's no use trying to get out of it.
I'll put $1,000 in gold on Buck. That's one mighty strong dog.
Ah, but what about the ice around the sled? Will you break it free before he tries, or will he have to pull it from a full stand?
No, Buck'll just have to pull the load. That's the bet.
No, the bet said he can't pull it out of the ice and 100 yards.
I bet with Matheson. He can't do it.
Me too.
I'm with Buck. He can do it.
Not me. You're crazy. 500 says he can't do it.
Hans, Pete, are you in?
I'm in for 70.
Just 60 here.
I'll put 200 on Buck. It's all that I've got. Come on, boy.
Thornton!
He can do it, Pete. I know he can.
All we can do now is watch him try.
Yeah.
Oh, Buck, this is gonna be a really rough one. But you've got to go all the way for me, see? 100 yards. It's a long way, Buck, but you can do it.
Thornton, the odds are 3 to 1 against you now. There's nothing more you can do. Let's get going and settle this matter. Buck's a good dog, but 1,000 pounds is a lot of weight.
He can do it. Can't you, you old son of a gun? All right. Hush! Buck, go to the left. To the left, Buck. To the left, Buck. Come on. To the right, Buck. Now to the right. Now to the left again. Left, Buck. Buck, now's the time. Come on, pull. Come on, Buck. Pull, boy. You can do it. You can do it. March, Buck. Hush now, Bucko. Buck! Do it! Push! Move! 100 yards, boy! Come on! Try again!
Thornton, he's done enough. You've won your 1,000.
No, I'm keeping my end of the bet because I know that he can do it. Now, come on, Buck, get up and try it again. For me. Good boy, Buck. That's the way. Now, pull it out. Keep pulling, Buck. Don't let up.
I've never seen a dog like that in my life.
Buck!
Hey!
Buck, oh, Buck. Thank God you're all right, boy.
Buck had never loved another man the way he loved Thornton, and their friendship grew even deeper after Buck's effort to win the bet. Buck's fame as the strongest dog in the Klondike spread, but he went east with Thornton and his partners in search of a lost mine.
Gold! Hey, we've struck it rich!
Huh? I don't believe it.
Are you kidding? We've got wolves around this place. Hey, Bucko!
The wolf's call had a strange effect on Buck. It reopened that wild part of his nature that had almost been tamed by his strong love for Thornton. The call was impossible for him to resist. It didn't only come from his own soul, but from the souls of all his ancestors, since dogs were first tamed by men and gathered with them around those primordial fires. Buck caught sight of the wolf running back into the forest. His spirit chose to follow. At first, the wolf, who had never seen such a large dog, ran from Buck. But Buck did not give up. He didn't know what he wanted from the wolf, only that he must make contact. Buck tried to show friendship towards the wild creature, but it still ran in confusion. Buck pursued. Cornered, the wolf turned in desperation to fight the stranger. Buck had made a wild friend.
Hey, here comes Buck.
I wonder if he caught himself a rabbit.
Look at that. He's running like the wind.
Come here, Buck. Come here, boy. Hey, Buck, I'm glad you decided to make it back.
For the next 3 days, as the call of the wild grew stronger in Buck's blood, he would not leave Thornton's side. Perhaps it was a sense of loyalty. Perhaps it was a fear of the unknown. But Buck could not resist the call, and he soon joined his wolf friend again in the forest. They ran through the woods together, hunted together, and Buck learned the life of a wolf, a life which was his by right. But one day came his ultimate test among the wolves, a test of life and death, the law of the fang in its most fearsome aspect, the pack against a single dog. Buck was worthy in the eyes of the pack, and he sang with them every night, until a very strong winter started to come over the mountains.
It's been 2 weeks this time. I don't think he'll leave you again, Thornton.
Yeah, that's hard to say. It's warmer in here than it is out there, that's for sure.
Fellas, I think I'm going back to Seattle. Start my own general store.
Yeah, I've been thinking about moving on myself. But what about Buck? You know, he's fallen in love with this place. I really don't think that he'd want to go.
Yeah. Me and Buck are gonna have to talk about it. You're free, boy. Good luck. Buck, you're the best friend a man could ask for. But you don't need me now. Your life is with the wolves. Run free.
Buck had come a long way since his life at the farm of Judge Miller. He had come back to the way he was meant to live. The road had been a long one, but now the call of the wild had brought him a new life. The animals all noticed that there was a new wolf, a large, strangely colored one, who ran faster and hunted better than any of the others. The wind itself sang of Buck's freedom and mastery over his own destiny. It wasn't long before Buck led the wolf pack. He was the smartest, the strongest, and applied everything he had learned from men to live by the law of the Fang. Buck had almost forgotten his comfortable life as a companion and servant to men. Until one night, he heard the sounds of gunshots coming from Thornton's camp. They were all dead. Thornton, Pete, and Hans. Buck howled as if his heart would break.
There's a lot more here than I thought.
Yeah, we could live easy for 3 or 4 years. Look out, a wolf! He's a mad dog! Let's get out of here! We'll get him!
Buck's last contact with man was gone. He was now free from his past, and free forever from the society of men. Indian legends tell the story of a strangely colored wolf who led his pack on raids in the snow-filled valleys. This mysterious creature was thought to have mystical powers to help him track and seize his prey. But Buck was only one dog in 1,000, living his life freely in a far northern country, a land as vast and brave as his own soul.
Vestron Video is proud to present the Charles Dickens collection, featuring one of the most popular of all Dickens' works, Oliver Twist. Here's your chance to meet the delightful Oliver Twist, the crafty, artful Dodger, the king of thieves, Fagin.
Dodger, Charlie, you're first. Out to work, all of you, and don't come back empty-handed.
All right.
And the evil Bill Sykes. A cast of favorite characters comes to life.
Thief! Stop, thief! Stop, thief!
Hey, stop!
Oh, wait! Come back here!
Oliver Twist, a classic for the entire family to enjoy, from the Charles Dickens collection, an ongoing family library of treasured classics in brilliant animation, closed captioned for the hearing impaired.